Introduction. The greatest show on earth. Morgan Housel opens the book with a compelling idea. Doing well with money isn't necessarily about what you know, it's about how you behave. Why money is the greatest show on earth. Housel refers to the financial world as the greatest show on earth because it is full of drama, unpredictability, extreme emotions, big wins, and tragic losses. Money touches every part of our lives, from basic needs to relationships, dreams, careers, and self-worth, making it one of the most emotionally charged topics out there. Despite this, money is rarely taught in terms of psychology or behavior. It's mostly approached like a math problem. But in real life, people don't behave rationally with money, they behave emotionally. Key message of the introduction. Real-world money decisions are not made in spreadsheets, they're made at the dinner table, in job interviews, in moments of fear and hope. People are influenced by different backgrounds, personal experiences, values, and emotions, which is why there's no one-size-fits-all approach to wealth. Housel argues that financial success is more about temperament and self-awareness than technical skill. Why this book is different. Rather than offering specific investment tips, Housel wants to explore why we make the financial choices we do. How our behavior shapes outcomes. What beliefs can help us make better money decisions. He writes not just as an observer of finance, but as a storyteller and behavioral thinker, drawing from history, psychology, and his own experience. Quote to remember. Doing well with money has little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave. The introduction sets the tone for the rest of the book. This is not just a finance book, it's a book about human nature. Chapter 1. No one's crazy. Core idea. Everyone makes financial decisions based on their unique life experiences, and these decisions often seem irrational, but they're actually understandable in context. Key points. A person who grew up during inflation or recession will see money differently than someone raised during a boom. Personal finance isn't taught through formulas, it's learned through lived experience, which varies greatly. For example, someone investing after seeing years of market growth will likely be more optimistic than someone scarred by a crash. Judging others for their financial decisions often misses the context behind those choices. Takeaway. People do things with money that make sense to them, even if they don't make sense to you. Recognizing this leads to more empathy and better decision-making. Chapter 2. Luck and Risk. Core idea. Success and failure in finance often come down to luck and risk, two forces that are invisible but enormously powerful. Key points. Bill Gates succeeded in part because he attended one of the few schools in the world with a computer in the 1960s. Conversely, equally intelligent people may have failed due to bad luck or timing. It's easy to attribute success entirely to skill and failure entirely to poor decisions, but that's simplistic and misleading. Just as luck can inflate success, risk can destroy well-made plans. Takeaway. Be careful when studying outcomes, they don't always reflect the quality of decisions. Focus more on broad patterns than isolated stories. Chapter 3. Never enough. Core idea. Many people don't know when to stop chasing more money, even after reaching a point of comfort. Greed can destroy wealth. Key points. Cites the story of Rajat Gupta, a millionaire who risked it all for even more, and lost everything. There is a social and psychological pressure to keep leveling up, a bigger house, better car, more status. But constantly chasing more can lead to unwise risks, unhappiness, and financial ruin. Enough is a powerful concept. Knowing when you have enough protects you from destructive ambition. Takeaway. Stop chasing the ceiling. Define what enough means to you, and protect it with discipline and humility. Chapter 4. Confounding compounding. Core idea. The power of compounding is the most important, and most underappreciated, force in finance. Key points. Warren Buffett's fortune isn't just due to investment skill, it's because he's been investing since age 10 and kept doing it into his 90s. The difference between good and great investors is not higher returns, but longer time horizons. Compounding is not intuitive to the human mind because we tend to think linearly. The benefits of compounding show up after decades, which is why patience is essential. Takeaway: time is more powerful than skill. Start early, stay consistent, and let compounding do its work. Chapter 5: Getting Wealthy versus Staying Wealthy. Core idea: it takes one mindset to get wealthy and a different mindset to stay wealthy, mainly humility, paranoia, and frugality. Key points: becoming wealthy often involves risk, optimism, and boldness. But staying wealthy requires conservatism, caution, and a strong defense. Many people lose wealth by continuing to take risks even after they've won the game. Protect yourself from ruin. Don't over-leverage, diversify, and build a margin of safety. Saving money is the gap between your ego and your income. Takeaway: survival is the foundation of long-term wealth. Avoid catastrophic losses, and don't confuse wealth building with wealth preservation strategies. Chapter 6: Tails, you win. Core idea: a small number of events often drive the majority of outcomes. In finance and life, tail events, rare but powerful outcomes, are disproportionately important. Key points: most successful investments or business ventures come from a handful of big winners. Venture capitalists, for example, expect only a few investments to pay off massively, while the rest fail. Even Warren Buffett's portfolio has been carried by a few standout companies. It's normal for many attempts to fail. What matters is ensuring your successes are big enough to outweigh the failures. Takeaway: you don't need to be right all the time. You just need to let your big wins run and accept failure as part of the game. Chapter 7: Freedom. Core idea: the highest form of wealth isn't money, it's the ability to control your time. Key points: people often think money brings happiness, but what it often truly buys is independence. The ability to wake up and choose how you spend your time is priceless. Many wealthy people are still trapped in schedules they don't control, which defeats the purpose of financial freedom. True wealth equals autonomy over your life. Takeaway: chase freedom, not status. Measure success by how much control you have over your time and choices. Chapter 8: Man in the Car Paradox. Core idea: when you buy things to impress others, people admire the thing, not the person. Key points: people spend money on flashy cars, watches, clothes, etc., thinking others will admire them. But observers admire the object, not the owner. Most don't even notice who's driving the car. This creates a paradox: the very reason people buy luxury items respect isn't fulfilled. Takeaway: stop trying to signal status with purchases. People care less about you than you think, and true admiration comes from humility and character, not displays of wealth. Chapter 9: Wealth is what you don't see. Core idea: spending money is not a sign of wealth, saving it is. Key points: people see a nice house or car and think, that person is rich. But that money is spent, not saved. Real wealth is invisible, it's the assets, investments, and savings you don't see. Many people go broke trying to look rich. Discipline, restraint, and long-term planning build actual wealth, not consumerism. Takeaway: judge wealth by what's unseen: savings, investments, and freedom, not by outward lifestyle. Chapter 10: Save money. Core idea: you don't need a specific reason to save money. Just save. Always. Key points: most people save for goals, a house, a vacation, retirement, but Housel argues for saving for the unknown. Life is full of surprises: medical bills, layoffs, opportunities, and savings buy you flexibility and peace of mind. Building wealth doesn't require a high income, it requires a high savings rate. Saving is about ego control, living below your means because you don't need to impress anyone. Takeaway: save money for no reason at all. Flexibility is more valuable than luxury. Chapter 11. Reasonable greater than rational. Core idea. You don't need to be perfectly rational with money. Being reasonable, in a way that fits your personality and values, is more sustainable and effective. Key points. Economists assume people make rational decisions. But real people have emotions, fears, goals, and histories. For example, it might be mathematically better to invest than pay off a low-interest mortgage, but some people feel more comfortable being debt-free. That comfort provides emotional returns which are just as valuable as financial ones. A reasonable financial plan, one that you can stick to, often beats a perfect one that you can't. Takeaway. Personal finance is personal. Aim for what's emotionally sustainable, not theoretically perfect. Chapter 12. Surprise. Core idea. The most important financial events are often unexpected and don't appear in history books, or in forecasts. Key points. Most of what shapes the financial world, like 9/11, the 2008 crisis, COVID-19, were outliers that no one saw coming. These events rewrite the rules and reset expectations. History is not always a good guide because it often overlooks the messy, emotional, random events that truly change things. Therefore, forecasting the future based on the past has limited value. Takeaway. Expect the unexpected. Build your financial life to survive surprises, not just follow trends. Chapter 13. Room for error. Core idea. Since the future is uncertain, always leave room for error in your plans. Key points. No matter how confident you are in your financial plan or investment strategy, things can go wrong. Examples: job loss, market crash, health issues, inflation spikes. Don't rely on the most optimistic scenario, plan for the worst case too. This applies to savings, spending, debt, and even career choices. Takeaway. Safety nets are not signs of weakness, they're signs of wisdom. Build margin into your decisions. Chapter 14. You'll change. Core idea. What you value today may not be what you value in 10 or 20 years. Be careful about making rigid long-term financial plans. Key points. People often make big life and money decisions based on current goals that may evolve or disappear. Example: saving aggressively to retire early, only to realize later they enjoy working. Overcommitting to a rigid path can create frustration or regret when your interests shift. Flexibility and humility about your future self are crucial. Takeaway. Avoid overcommitting to today's goals. Allow room in your finances for future changes in identity and priorities. Chapter 15. Nothing's free. Core idea. Everything in finance has a cost, even if it's not monetary. Often the cost is stress, uncertainty, or patience. Key points. Investors often want high returns with no volatility, but that's not realistic. The price of admission for big returns is enduring market drops and discomfort. Many people abandon investments because they mistake volatility for a mistake. Accepting and enduring these emotional fees is the cost of success. Takeaway. There is no free lunch. Understand and accept the emotional and psychological costs of wealth building. Chapter 16. You and me. Core idea. Different people have different financial goals, time horizons, and risk tolerances. This leads to different strategies, so what works for one person might be wrong for another. Key points. People often base decisions on what others are doing without realizing those others may have completely different circumstances. For example, short-term traders and long-term investors behave differently, but both can be right within their own context. The market is a mix of many strategies playing out simultaneously, which creates apparent contradictions. Copying others blindly can lead to bad outcomes because your needs aren't the same as theirs. Takeaway. Define your own goals and strategy. Don't compare your financial life to others. Chapter 17. The seduction of pessimism. Core idea. Pessimism sounds smarter and more convincing than optimism, even when it's wrong. Key points. People tend to take pessimistic financial predictions more seriously, because they feel more analytical and cautious. However, history shows that progress is more common than decline, but it often happens slowly and quietly. Optimism requires patience and resilience, while pessimism appeals to fear. Many successful investors are long-term optimists who ignore short-term noise. Takeaway: don't be seduced by negativity. The world is not perfect, but it usually improves over time. Chapter 18. When you'll believe anything. Core idea. In times of uncertainty and stress, people often fall for narratives that give them comfort, even if they're misleading. Key points. After financial crises, people tend to believe in conspiracies, magic solutions, or scapegoats because they're trying to make sense of chaos. Our brains are wired to find patterns and explanations, even where none exist. This creates misinformation, bubbles, and irrational decisions. Emotionally charged markets lead to belief-driven rather than fact-driven behavior. Takeaway: be aware of your need for meaning during uncertainty. It can cloud judgment and lead to bad decisions. Chapter 19. All together now. Core idea. This chapter summarizes the core principles of the book and encourages readers to apply the ideas as a whole mindset. Key points. Wealth is more about behavior than knowledge. Success comes from saving, patience, humility, and adaptability. Avoid extremes, understand the power of compounding, and don't get distracted by other people's paths. The most important thing is staying in the game. Avoid ruin, survive, and grow steadily. Takeaway: there are no perfect answers. But consistently reasonable behavior wins over time. Chapter 20. Confessions. Core idea. Housel shares his own financial philosophy, not as a prescription, but as an example of how personal and values-based money management can be. Key points. Housel's approach emphasizes simplicity, frugality, and independence. He avoids leverage, keeps expectations low, and aims for long-term freedom rather than quick wealth. He doesn't try to beat the market, he tries to sleep well at night and keep his life flexible. The key is aligning money decisions with your values, temperament, and goals. Takeaway: there's no universal formula. Success is personal. Design a financial life that supports your version of happiness. Key lessons of all chapters. Chapter 1. No one's crazy. Everyone makes financial decisions based on their personal experiences. What looks irrational to you might make perfect sense to someone else. Chapter 2. Luck and risk. Outcomes are often influenced by luck and risk, both outside of our control. Avoid over-attributing success or failure solely to effort. Chapter 3. Never enough. More money won't solve all problems. Knowing what's enough can prevent self-destruction through greed. Chapter 4. Confounding compounding. The secret to great wealth is time plus consistency. Compound growth is powerful, but it takes patience. Chapter 5. Getting wealthy versus staying wealthy. Getting rich requires taking risks. Staying rich requires humility, frugality, and paranoia. Chapter 6. Tails, you win. A few rare events, tail events, drive the majority of outcomes. Allow room for big wins and expect many failures. Chapter 7. Freedom. True wealth is having control over your time, not necessarily having the most money. Chapter 8. Man in the car paradox. Trying to signal wealth with status items backfires. People admire the object, not the owner. Chapter 9. Wealth is what you don't see. Wealth is hidden, it's the money not spent. Real wealth is savings, investments, and financial security. Chapter 10. Save money. Save even when you don't have a specific goal. Savings give flexibility and peace of mind. Chapter 11. Reasonable greater than rational. You don't have to be perfectly rational with money, just reasonable enough to stick with your plan. Chapter 12. Surprise. The most influential financial events are unexpected. Be prepared for the unpredictable. Chapter 13. Room for error. Leave margin in your plans. Expect to be wrong sometimes, and be ready for it. Chapter 14. You'll change. You will evolve. Don't tie your financial plans too tightly to who you are right now. Chapter 15. Nothing's free. Every financial reward has a cost, usually in stress, patience, or uncertainty. Chapter 16. You and me. What's right for others might be wrong for you. Tailor your financial approach to your own goals and timeline. Chapter 17. The seduction of pessimism. Pessimism sounds smart, but long-term optimism is more aligned with historical trends and progress. Chapter 18. When you'll believe anything. Uncertainty leads people to believe in comforting or simple narratives. Stay critical and rational. Chapter 19. All together now. No single principle guarantees success, but consistent, humble behavior and adaptability do. Chapter 20. Confessions. There's no perfect way to manage money. Build a plan that fits your values and emotional needs, not just the math. Postscript. A brief history of why the U.S. consumer thinks the way they do. Core idea. American consumer behavior, especially the tendency to spend rather than save, is deeply shaped by historical and cultural forces, not just personal choices or individual psychology. Key historical contexts. 1. The Great Depression 1930s. Scarcity and economic trauma shaped a generation to be deeply frugal. People prioritized security and savings over risk and consumption. 2. World War II 1940s. Rationing and limited consumer goods reinforced frugality. However, people saved a lot during the war because there wasn't much to spend on. 3. Post-war boom 1950s 1970s. Massive economic expansion, suburbanization, and the GI Bill unleashed consumption. The American dream became defined by home ownership, cars, and material comfort. Credit became more available, buy now, pay later became normal. 4. Stagflation and malaise 1970s. Rising inflation and slow growth shook confidence. Many began to invest more, stocks, real estate as a way to outpace inflation. 5. Financialization of the economy 1980s-2000s. Wall Street boomed, financial markets became central to wealth building. Debt, especially credit cards and mortgages, became normalized. 401ks replaced pensions, pushing people into market-based wealth accumulation. 6. The 2008 crisis and its aftermath. Created long-lasting skepticism about housing and markets for younger generations. But cheap money, low interest rates kept spending high and assets inflated. Inequality widened, leading some to spend more to keep up, even when they couldn't afford it. Resulting consumer behavior. Saving is no longer the default. Most people spend what they earn or more. Cultural pressure, advertising, and social media fuel consumption and comparison. Financial literacy hasn't caught up with the complexity and temptations of modern capitalism. Housel's insight. The American consumer mindset, high consumption, low savings, is not a moral failing. It's the result of decades of economic, cultural, and institutional shifts that trained people to behave this way. Key takeaway. Understanding your financial mindset requires looking not just at your habits, but at the history that shaped your environment. Many behaviors that seem irrational are actually logical responses to past events. Conclusion. By Morgan Housel. In the conclusion, Morgan Housel ties together the key lessons of the book by emphasizing that money is not just a math problem, it's a behavioral one. The most important factors in financial success aren't technical knowledge or complex strategies, but patience, discipline, humility, and self-awareness. Here are the key ideas from the conclusion. 1. Money success is personal, not universal. Everyone views money differently based on their background, upbringing, and personal experiences. As a result, there is no single, right, way to manage money. What works for one person might not work for another. Avoid judging others' financial decisions. People make choices based on their own contexts and goals. 2. Consistency greater than genius. Long-term financial success often comes from boring, repeated good behavior, not from once-in-a-lifetime windfalls or brilliant trades. The key isn't how smart you are, it's how consistent you can be over decades. 3. Know when enough is enough. One of the biggest causes of financial failure is not knowing when to stop chasing more. Happiness comes from setting reasonable goals and being content, not endlessly comparing yourself to others. 4. Tail events rule everything. A few extreme moments, like a huge investment success or market crash, shape financial outcomes much more than average days. Smart investors plan around risk and uncertainty rather than trying to predict exactly what will happen. 5. Psychology greater than math. You don't need to be a genius to do well with money, you need to understand your own emotions, goals, and limits. A financially reasonable person will often outperform someone who is theoretically rational, but ignores human nature. Final message. Doing well with money has a little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave. Morgan Housel encourages readers to focus on humility, long-term thinking, and living below their means. The final takeaway is to build a life where money supports your goals, not one where money becomes the goal.